You have started over more times than you can count. A new diet on Monday, a new gym plan in January, a new version of yourself every single time. That quietly disappears by week 3. You already know this feeling. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why it keeps happening and what actually works instead. Here is the uncomfortable truth. It is not that you lack willpower. It is that you have been trying to change your life the wrong way. Most people believe transformation requires a dramatic overhaul. Wake up at 5. Train for 2 hours. Rebuild your entire diet overnight. It sounds powerful. It feels powerful for about 9 days. Then life happens, the plan breaks once, and the whole thing collapses. This pattern has a name. Psychologists call it the disappointment spiral. One missed workout becomes a missed week. One missed week becomes total abandonment. The bigger the plan, the harder it falls. There is a reason this keeps happening, and it is not about laziness. Researchers describe it as the valley of disappointment. When you start a new habit, you expect steady, visible progress from day one. But real progress is invisible at first, hidden below the surface, building quietly with no outward sign at all. You expect a straight line upward. Instead, you get weeks of nothing, followed by a sudden curve that only appears much later. Most people quit during that invisible valley, convinced the method is not working just before the results were about to appear. They were not failing. They simply stopped 1 week too early to see it. Now compare that to a completely different approach. A man decides to get in shape, but instead of a 2-hour gym plan, he commits to 1 push-up a day. Just 1. His friends laugh at him. It seems too small to matter. But he does it every single day, without missing once. Within 2 months, 1 push-up became 15. Within a year, it became a full workout routine he never had to force himself into. He did not rely on motivation. He built a system so small it was impossible to fail. This is called the 1% rule. Improving by just 1% each day does not sound impressive. But compounded daily, over a single year, 1% better every day makes you 37 times better by the end. Compounded, not added. Multiplied, not summed. Small actions do not add up in a straight line. They compound, the same way money grows in a bank account you never touch. The problem is, 1% is invisible on any single day. You cannot see the difference between day 1 and day 2. That invisibility is exactly why most people quit before the compounding ever begins. They expect results in a straight line and quietly give up during the flat part of the curve. The people who succeed are not more disciplined. They are simply willing to be patient during the invisible part. So why does the brain resist small steps and demand big dramatic action instead? Because big action feels like identity. It feels like proof that you are finally serious. But identity was never built in 1 dramatic day. Identity is built through repetition. Every time you complete a small action, your brain registers a vote. I am someone who shows up. I am someone who follows through. 1 push-up is not about fitness. It is a vote for a new identity, cast every single day until the vote becomes a landslide. This is where most advice gets it backwards. People chase outcomes. Lose 20 pounds. Save $10,000. Read 50 books. But outcomes are not something you control directly. Systems are. A system is simply the smallest version of the behavior you can repeat without fail. Outcome-based thinking says, I want to be someone who reads more. System-based thinking says, I will read 1 page before bed every single night, no matter what. One approach depends on motivation. The other depends on nothing at all. There is a second reason tiny habits work when big goals fail. It is called habit stacking. The brain does not build new behavior from nothing. It attaches new behavior to something that already happens automatically. After I pour my morning coffee, I will write 1 sentence in my journal. After I brush my teeth, I will stretch for 30 seconds. The existing habit becomes the trigger. The new habit rides on its back, without needing extra willpower to remember it. There is another rule that makes starting almost effortless. It is called the 2-minute rule. Any new habit should take less than 2 minutes to begin. Not because the habit itself should stay small forever, but because starting is the only part that requires willpower. Read 1 page, not 1 chapter. Put on running shoes and step outside, not run 5 miles. Write 1 sentence, not 1,000 words. Once you begin, continuing is easy. The 2-minute version is not the whole goal. It is simply the door you walk through to get there. There is a third principle, quieter than the first 2, called environment design. Willpower is unreliable, but environment is not. Someone trying to eat healthier does not rely on resisting the cookies on the counter. They simply remove the cookies from the counter. Someone trying to read more does not rely on remembering to pick up a book. They leave the book on their pillow where they cannot avoid seeing it. You do not need more discipline. You need a room that makes good decisions easier than bad ones. There is one more secret, and it explains why a single push-up changed far more than his fitness. It is called a keystone habit. Some habits stay isolated. Others quietly rebuild everything around them. The man who started with one push-up did not plan to change his sleep, his diet, or his mornings. But showing up for himself once a day, without fail, changed how he saw every other decision. If he could keep a promise that small, he started keeping bigger ones too. He began sleeping earlier, without ever making that a formal goal. He began drinking more water, without writing it down anywhere. One small, consistent action became proof of who he was, and that proof spread quietly into every corner of his life. This is why the habit you choose matters less than the act of choosing one and never missing it. The identity spreads on its own. Now return to the man with the single push-up. A year later, his life looks completely different. He trains most mornings, not because he forces himself, but because the identity became real. He still remembers the version of himself that quit every big plan by week 3. He does not judge that version harshly anymore. That person was never lazy. That person was simply using a method that was designed to fail from the very beginning. Right now, part of you is already building an excuse. I will start Monday. I will start once things calm down. I will start when I feel ready. Monday was never the problem, and you were never going to magically feel more ready than you do right now. The version of you who waits for the perfect moment and the version of you who starts small today end up in two completely different lives 1 year from now. The truth is simple, even if it is not exciting. You do not need a bigger goal. You need a smaller first step, repeated until it becomes who you are. Pick one habit today, so small it feels almost embarrassing. 1 page, 1 push-up, 1 glass of water before coffee. Do it tomorrow, even if it rains, even if you are tired, even if you do not feel motivated at all. Motivation was never the plan. Consistency was always the plan. 1 year from now, the small thing you almost did not bother starting today will be the reason everything else finally changed.